Hello everyone, my name is Anthony Barocas and I'm here to give you over 100 tips, trips, and links for making your live shows come together. This is going to be kind of a brain dump. First, a few disclosures. I'm going to mention lots of manufacturers and products, and none of these manufacturers and products have any connection with this presentation. I've not been paid or otherwise compensated to mention any company or product today. Anything I mention is of my own finding or my own use. If I have paid for it, I paid for it with my own money. I'll try to be clear where I have direct experiences versus things I know about but haven't exactly used yet. I still want to mention these things because they might be of interest to you. Investigate things on your own. Test before you use anything in a real show. Your production and your tools are your responsibility. Now, we have limited time and I have a ton of information to give you. So get your pen and paper ready or use your cell phone and take a picture of the screen. So let's go. First of all, in addition to over a decade of articles on streaming media producer, I also run the AIBA Tech Thoughts YouTube channel where I do additional reviews and other gear tests. A few years ago, I founded Stream for Us, which is solely dedicated to providing streaming services and production. If you need to reach me, you can email me, Anthony, at stream4us. That's it. There's Stream for Us. There's also a very handy guide on Stream for Us to helping remote guests look their best called How to Look Awesome. Go through that and check it out if you need something to hand on to your clients to look great. So first, let's talk remote cameras, because when your guest is remote, the camera is too. For remote cameras, we have the built-in webcams in laptops and some desktop computers. Generally, these suck. The resolution is typically 720p and the camera itself is not that great at all. Apple made a big splash because finally on the newest iMacs, they put a 1080p camera. Finally. The cameras are easily washed out and the lighting, if it has any challenges like a window to the side or behind it, it looks like crap. Honestly, the selfie camera in cell phones or even tablets are a distinct step up. Almost always 1080p or even higher these days. And they're just better cameras all around because people taking selfies, no manufacturer wants to make their customers look horrible in selfie shots. Plus, the microphone and earbuds that come with phones are a quick and clean way to get your remote guests to wear earbuds, like I'm wearing earbuds now, for better audio. And the microphone picks up less room noise because there's built-in cancellation in the phone. External webcams offer a distinct step up almost every computer internal webcam. Now, I say this with the intent that you actually get a decent webcam. I'm partial to the Logitech. I've bought the C920. I'm actually using the C920 right now. And I find them to be very good looking and reliable. I'm using the 920 because the webcam in my gaming laptop sucks. There are other good webcam manufacturers out there as well. But if you are spending $12 for a 4K webcam and expecting the same results as a $200 Logitech Brio, you will be sadly disappointed. Let's spend about $100 and you can get a decent webcam that gives you distinct improvement over a laptop webcam. One nice feature of the Logitech webcams that I like is they have Logitech Capture app, which is sort of like a little video mixing app. And it works with Logitech cameras, not everybody's camera. The cool thing with this app is it gives you a way to lock the exposure, lock the focus and different settings, manual white balance, manual brightness, but you can also bring in and mix a second input like a PowerPoint and add effects. And then Logitech Capture can share this already mixed feed as a virtual camera with whatever else you want. So if you want to do a multi-source picture-in-picture into Facebook or Zoom, this is an easy way to do it. It can also record internally, so you have a clean recording free from any internet dropouts, and then upload the finished product later. So I guess that kind of counts as like 4 tips in one slide, but we'll just go with that. The Brio is awesome, and if you have capability to, zoom in on it, so that's really cool too. How does your remote client get that good external web camera? Well, if you can find a decent webcam for sale, get a couple. Keep them handy. You can send them in wrapped bubble wrap mailers to your client and be sure to include a prepaid return shipping label in the bag so they can ship it right back to you when they're done. You can purchase one online and with free shipping, drop ship it directly to the client. And that way you don't have to pay for the shipping. It's already paid when you purchase the product. If it's someone you want to leave a really nice impression with, leave the camera with them and tell them it's a gift. Like if you get a CEO, you really want to get in your foot in the door, this is a great way to do that. Stepping up from that, there are a lot of digital SLRs out there, and not all of them are in regular use. Canon, Fuji, Panasonic, Sony have all released webcam software to connect to their DSLRs via USB and appear to the computer as a webcam. So you can get all the benefits of a large sensor camera with great lens and manual control. Now, I've heard that not all the USB Connect software delivers a full HD image to the computer, but even at a lower resolution, the DSLR image has a nice look to it. If you have Canon, check out the Canon EOS webcam utility. If Fuji users have a webcam utility as well, page does not look as nice. Panasonic Lumix webcam software works with most current and recent models. And Sony's Imaging Edge software is actually a suite of apps, one of which provides the webcam connectivity. Regardless of what camera you use, it's all about location. I mean, like, why? This is like one of my typical in-studio shots. Why does this look good? Well, first of all, there's no bright window behind me, like in this other video I made. The camera's positioned at eye level. I have an interesting and relevant background. So take time to work with your guest and do what I call a tech check several days ahead of the actual live event and have them walk around their house to office and pick the best looking spot. These two images are literally 2 feet from each other. I just rotated the laptop and sat in a different seat, and you can see the difference in the lighting. Maybe you need to have them adjust blinds or drapes, rotate a table, declutter the shelves behind them. We're making TV here, and we're doing this not to be a bother, but to make our guests look awesome. Almost all the time, they understand this and are thankful for your help. Tell them, we want to make you look awesome for this event. If you could just take those stack of papers off the back shelf and put them on the floor for one day, that would help so much. And they really do appreciate this. When you do the tech check, pay particular attention to the lighting, especially if the sun comes in the room. Try to do the tech check at the same time the guest will be live in your show, so you can see what the room really looks like and be aware of cloudy days versus sunny days. Many times the sun can come right in and hit the guest from the side, and unless you know it ahead of time, you have a real problem trying to deal with it on show day. We had 2 guests with this problem, and one ended up putting a sheet on a pole over the up part of the window that didn't have any blinds. The other moved around in the room so the sun did not hit them, and that worked out fine as well. Aside from that, make sure there's light in front of the guest. That makes all the difference. It could be a desk lamp reflected off the wall in front of them, or it could be a big table lamp with a big lampshade, in essence, a softbox. You may even have to turn off other lights in the room, especially if there's a mixture of colors, like blue coming from outside, but warm incandescent light coming from the lamp. Why? Well, because this confuses the white balance in the web cameras, and sometimes they'll swing back and forth in color temperature while you're doing things. Don't laugh, I've actually had it happen. So making the color temperature as uniform as possible in front of the camera is important. Remote audio is the next and perhaps even more important aspect to doing a remote. We can get hung up on making sure the picture looks pretty, but if the audio is noisy or hard to hear, it doesn't matter how good the picture is. Conversely, I've had guests who had great audio, usually from a headset with a boom mic, and it didn't matter if the audio glitched or the connection was a rough one, as long as we can hear them cleanly through the glitch, it works great. What mic am I using with this webcast? I actually have a little boom mic just to the side of the webcam, coming in via USB audio, and if you hear a little bit of background noise, that's the laptop currently working at 51%. So the fans are on in the laptop. The audience is very willing to overlook video issues if you've got clean audio. So a USB headset for audio is a great way to make sure the remote guest sounds awesome and they can hear the show well. But many people don't like over-the-head headsets despite the great sound they deliver to both the user and the show. So if they don't wear any, that always results in the most choppy audio. I bought a Jabra Evolve, and I like it because it has a really long USB cable. I actually get up and move around a little bit. I can stand or sit, plus the headset is very lightweight. It doesn't enclose my ears, so it helps them to remain cool. It just sits on them gently. So if I have to wear it for hours, it remains pretty comfortable. However, how we said most built-in computer cameras are not awesome, the same goes for microphones. They pick up the whole room, echo, reverb, all kinds of background noise. They make it hard to hear the remote guest. This is made worse when the guest is also using the computer's built-in speakers to hear. So the microphone is hearing the output of the speakers as well as the person speaking, and then the software has to cancel out the computer audio, and invariably some of the remote guests' speaking audio gets removed as well. If you can get your guests to wear even basic earbuds, like the basic but good $12 Sony earbuds that we include in our remote kits at DHD Films, you'll be so much better for it because the microphone only hears the person speaking. This is especially important when you have a panel event with multiple people who might try and talk over each other. The audio canceling will always make your remote guest's dialogue garbled once that starts to happen. If the microphone hears nothing but the guest, then you are helping to ensure that their audio will come through. We use the Sony earbuds because they specifically do not have a microphone, so it doesn't confuse whatever device they plug it into. If the guest will be standing or maybe a little further from the computer, we include an extension cable so the guest can put the headphone wire behind their back, like I have. You can see it hanging out on this side, but it's generally behind my back and not as distracting. Makes it less visible. Bluetooth headsets work too. There's no visible cord. That's kind of super awesome. But they also add a tiny bit more delay. So there's already a bit of delay in any sort of remote connection. And if you're going to have instances where people start speaking back and forth, it throws off the natural timing when you add delay on top of a little bit of delay. So Bluetooth or wired is up to you. Advantages and disadvantages for both. If you can add a lavalier mic, which I am actually not wearing today, it can really help to get good quality audio because it always remains the same distance from the person speaking. There are USB models and even models that can plug right into tablets and phones if you decide to go that route. Again, the remote guest's location has a huge effect on sound as well. People love tile and hardwood and glass for the look. It's like the modern look, but it's bad for audio. A big, empty, echoey room sounds like a big, empty, echoey room. This room, I actually have sound tiles on the ceiling. I got carpet on the floor to help suck up some of the sound. If your remote guest has a room with carpet and some cloth furniture in it, it will sound a lot quieter than a big open office. A clean wall, or even a nice picture behind the remote guest, can give you nice video to go with the quiet audio. I did one show where the host used an ironing board in her bedroom to put her laptop on. She arranged it so she was standing in front of a wall and a bit of a painting was behind her, and it looked and sounded great. Nobody could see the ironing board and nobody was wiser as to what was going on behind the scenes. It just has to look good in front of the camera. Another thing to consider with audio is extraneous sounds. Does your guest have dogs that bark at every person that walks by the house? Is the house in a busy traffic area? Will there be trucks driving by, a fire truck or ambulance? Is the day that you have the remote event scheduled also lawn day at your guest's house? Will they be mowing right when you need them in your show? Are there doors that can be closed so that kids and other activity in the house or office can be shut out for your guests' time on screen? Ask your guests these questions when you do the tech check. Knowing these things beforehand helps you put together a strategy to deal with it before it's a problem in the show. Remote connections. Most of the time, your remote guest will not be tech savvy. So having a tech check to walk through things is important. The way they connect is also important. I personally use vMix. It's one of many tools, and it has a very easy to use web interface for remote connections. I personally think it's even easier than Zoom and other business chat apps. Now, vMix is one of many multi-camera live switching apps. vMix is Windows only. OBS is another multi-camera live switching app. It's available for Windows, Mac, and Linux. There's also very similar Streamlabs OBS, which touts easier setup, connection with their widgets and other Streamlabs offering. Vimeo has Live Stream Studio, and that's available for both Windows and Mac. Telestream Wirecast is another long-running tool available for Windows and Mac. Plus, they also sell their own dedicated hardware to run it on as well. Boinks, you can correct me if I said it wrong. Boinks Mimo Live is available for Mac. It's an up-and-coming tool getting better and more powerful every year. Cam Twist Studio is one of the ones you might not have heard of, available for Mac. Cinemaker is an iOS app that is now available for Macintosh as well. ManyCam is available for Windows and Mac and has lots of features in this tool that not many people have heard of. There's also Ecamm Live, available for Mac. VidBlaster is available for Windows. Anybody got a running tally? How many for Mac and how many for Windows? Broadcast Picks just introduced their own software called Church Picks for Windows. Technically, it works outside of churches too, but shh. And we cannot forget the new TriCaster, which started the whole software-based multi-camera switching thing as a video toaster 30 years ago, back in 1990. The TriCaster is a well-established software and hardware solution, integrated solution that really needs to be included in any discussion of multi-camera live switching. I'm sure there's a couple others I may not have come across yet. If you know of one, comment, let me know what it is. Which of those are available software as a service? The cloud version of the TriCaster is. All the other ones I think are purchase. For iOS, I've written about 3 apps that do multi-camera live switch production. You can look up my article. These include Cinemaker, Switcher Studio, and Teradek AirMix. Teradek used to be called Live to Air. Now it's called AirMix. And there's a comparison chart in the article so you can see which one has which features. Now, I haven't found any multi-camera live switching solutions for Android devices, but that doesn't mean there are any. I can't possibly know everything. If you know of some, let me know. There's a big difference between business chat apps and video production apps. Sometimes there's a bit of pushback as to why the remote guest has to connect to your system, and why can't we just use WebEx or Teams or Zoom or Google Meetings, because that's what they use. The video production apps are designed so that we can adjust audio levels, gain, equalization for each person individually. We can also color correct, reposition the camera feeds as we need for our show. With dedicated numbers for connections, we can pre-build the shows and multi-views knowing ahead of time who will come in on which remote camera connection, and this is simply not possible with the business chat apps. Now, if there's some overarching reason why a person can't or will not connect directly to the video production app, you can use the business chat apps and then use some tricks to try and get that person's individual feed from the business chat app into your production. For instance, you can dedicate a laptop to each person you need an ISO from. You can pin or highlight, whichever each app calls it, that one person on that one device. And then you can use free software like NDI Screen Capture to grab that screen and bring it into your video production software of choice over the local area network. Or you can send that screen out HDMI and capture that as you would any other camera feed. Interestingly, Microsoft Teams has integrated the ability to send out individual NDI streams for each caller, as long as there aren't too many callers. You're not going to get 50 ISO feeds over NDI from one computer. And you need to have enough local bandwidth and enough CPU processing power to handle multiple NDI streams at the same time. It also takes a bit of setting up. You know, they've got a whole page on all the different steps you need to do to make this happen properly. We had an issue where a guest could not connect to my show. The specific way it failed led me to believe that the guest was at work, behind a firewall, and the ports that were needed were blocked by their IT department. This is the case in locked down corporate environments. It's pretty common these days. So we asked her to connect through Zoom, and it still would not work. She asked, well, why don't you people just use Microsoft Teams? Because that works. Well, of course it works better than the one we were using because their IT department made Teams work with their infrastructure. So I loaded Teams on my PC, connected it with my switching software so we could get this guest into our show. So be ready with updated apps for all the regular business chat applications because you never know when that's going to be the only way to get a specific remote guest into your show. If you're moving video back and forth between different apps on one machine, you're also going to need to move audio back and forth between the apps. This is actually harder than you might expect, as different apps inside one computer are all designed to play out to you, the person in front of the computer. These apps are not designed to send the audio back and forth between them, especially not specific inputs and outputs. So if you're going to need some virtual audio cables, there's a great solution available called just that, virtual audio cables. You can get one cable for free, but please pony up for additional cables if you buy them, like I did. If you pick your price. If you're going to pay $10 for a mic cable that sat in a drawer for all of 2020, then pay a few bucks for the super useful virtual audio cables. On the Mac side, you can use virtual audio cables, but also check out Rogue Amiga's Loopback, which allows you to grab the audio from various apps and reroute it. To monitor the audio, sometimes you want to hear one app, but not the other. That's not how computers are designed. They want you to hear all the sounds from all the apps all the time. So if you're trying to monitor the streaming destination as opposed to the streaming app, you need a way to change the audio levels for the computer on a per app basis. For Mac, there's SoundSource, which I have purchased and use on my Mac. For Windows, you don't even need a separate app. You just right-click on the speaker icon and open the Windows Volume Mixer, and you get a volume control for each app. And depending on the browser or the version of Windows, you can even get a volume control for each tab in the browser. For controlling remote guests' computer, not everybody is super savvy, so sometimes we need to reach into their computer and fix things. AnyDesk is the app that we have chosen to use, but there are many of these apps out there. Many others I know rely on TeamViewer. Parsec reportedly has the lowest latency, but when I tried to establish that for our mobile kits, we had trouble getting it to work reliably. Even the Google Chrome browser offers a remote desktop feature. And lastly, the remote desktop is built into certain levels of Windows OS itself, so you don't even need to add software if you have the right version of Windows OS. As I mentioned, we've been using AnyDesk to control remote kits we send out from DHT Films. We have set them up to automatically accept my incoming request with the right password, of course, and this enables me to remotely control the audio and video settings on the computer in front of the remote guest wherever they might be. Teradici. I don't use Teradici, but that's a great recommendation. There's even a very handy free tool in Windows to allow you to control the webcam connected to that Windows device. It's on GitHub. You just search for webcam settings dialog. And with that, you can set the white balance, exposure, focus, gain, color. You can even do zoom. I'm actually using it with this webcam right now to control the various aspects. So if I move around, it does not get brighter or darker. Automatically adjusting the image, it's fixed. This brings up a good point. Now, you can rely on what the end user may have available, or you can build and ship out your own kits. It could be as simple as sending out a good iPad, or sending a whole setup with lights, stands, microphones, and everything. Of course, the more complex the kit, the more effort it takes on the remote end to set it all up, configure it, and get it working. There's even hardware like the KiloView E2 and others designed to connect remote sources with your production using robust error correction protocols like SRT. This can deliver a higher quality signal than WebRTC, but the better durability of the SRT signal to overcome internet issues and drop frames comes at the expense of latency, or how many milliseconds it takes to get from the source to the destination. The more latency you give SRT, the less dropouts or glitches you'll see, but then the longer it takes. So if you have multiple guests interacting with each other, SRT may not be the right tool to use. There's the Larix Broadcaster, and at the upper edge, the Matrox Monarch Edge are designed to reliably get those remote cameras into your show from nearly anywhere. Again, this is just a sampling. There's always more products and solutions and hardware doodads and whatnots out there. If you know of something I should be talking about, let me know. Many people also use remote streaming to do remote recording. In fact, I've been tasked to do this as well. The recording will be edited for later use, so there was no live audience and it wasn't streamed anywhere, but the streaming technology was used for the recording. But there are also several very useful tools that are designed around this specific remote recording need, and they offer a very specific feature. Where they actually record on the speaker's computer itself. This means the recording won't have any internet glitches. It's uploaded soon after or even during the recording session and either delivered to you or downloadable from a website. One of these is riverside.fm, where it's recorded on their computer and then you get the recording. So there's no internet glitches, no varying quality and things like that. Another one is camflare.io and Zencaster.com are a few of the resources out there. These are not live streaming apps, but streaming professionals can have these solutions in mind when tasked with recording as opposed to streaming. You can produce in the cloud, and no, I don't mean Zoom, although people have done that, and Zoom does have a hook to send a feed directly to Facebook and YouTube, so it's doable. But it's really not designed for this. I mean, we've already had a comment in this thread where Zoom is already dumbing it down to 360p. So if you want to use Zoom for your production, that's on you. I mean, we're talking about producing a show with multiple cameras, live switched, video playback, titles, graphics, and more, but running in the cloud, and you can push to any destinations we were already going to go. One example is StreamYard, which can handle 10 people on the screen. Well, now one of them is you. So if you're the producer, it's really only 9. There's sociallive.us. And Restream also has a similar solution called Restream Studio that lets you switch between cameras, graphics, videos, titles, all in the cloud. ShowFlow is developing a larger studio with 10 on stage at one time, but up to 25 backstage. That's pretty impressive. Now, these cloud tools do not make all the remote cameras come down to you, only your screen view comes down to you, and you transmit your clicks. So it's actually very light on bandwidth, which means these can be run with a less powerful computer, so the potential steep investment in a computer and internet bandwidth that can handle a lot of remote callers is almost eliminated. If you want to step up from these 3 cloud production tools I mentioned, there are even more powerful solutions like Dazzle TV. That's dazzle.tv, neuralnet.com. Sony offers their own cloud production system. Vizrt, that's the one name I couldn't think of before. Vizrt now offers what is essentially a TriCaster in the cloud with their Viz Vector Plus, and that's his own. This is a subscription model. In addition, Sienna-TV or siennatv.com offers very useful tools as well as media looks. They have a whole raft of remote contribution and NDI tools available to producers who need to integrate remote guests and content. Don't miss GoLightstream.com as well. If you know others that I've missed, let me know. I can add them to the OpenReel. Yes, OpenReel was one of the ones that's like Riverside and all the other ones, except OpenReel is very expensive, which is why I started looking for other ones. But yes, thank you for OpenReel. I couldn't remember that one when I was making this slide deck. OpenReel. I'm going to write that one down. Let me be clear. It takes time to learn and master any one tool, especially within the time available with running a business, dealing with clients, building and producing shows. So in running my business and producing shows for my clients, there's simply no time to try and master all the solutions I just listed. So please don't ask me which one's best, because I don't know. Anyone who does have all the time to learn and master all of these things is not busy working with clients on shows, so I honestly don't think that they'd know which is best from actual practice either. If you have to try them and see if they fit your particular need, as each person's need, and sometimes each show's need is different. So sometimes I'm using Riverside, sometimes I'm using StreamYard, sometimes I'm using Zoom, sometimes I'm using vMix, and like different tools in the toolbox. That's the way I look at it. One's a wrench, one's a screwdriver, one's a pair of pliers. Use what you need. Lastly, don't rule out putting the app you know on a server in the cloud. There are many people I know who are putting their favorite production app on cloud servers like AWS, Lumen, and mixing shows in the cloud. It takes a bit of learning to get your production set up on a virtualized computer and some hooks to get your control surfaces integrated to the computer in the cloud. So take time well in advance to learn the process and get it down. Try different connection solutions and see if the virtual computer can do what you need it to do, because you may need a different scale of computer than you initially thought. I have an article coming up on Stream Media about how we did the North Texas Irish Festival and had some issues because some of our computers were under-spec'd, and that's on us. There's also new open solutions like OBS Ninja, where what the solution does is really limited by your ability to understand and implement what it can do. Thankfully, these tools have online community groups, Reddit, Discord, Facebook groups to assist new users to get up to speed and build out the functionality you need. There are literally tens of thousands of people doing exactly what you're doing. You just need to reach out to them for help. And then help others in turn. Because as you advance in your knowledge, there's always someone else right behind you who needs the help that you got not too long ago. So be sure to help as you have been helped. It should go without saying there's plenty of searchable information and videos on YouTube explaining how others did what you're looking to do, or something similar. This video itself will be on YouTube. You'll even be able to see this video and a whole lot of other excellent videos about streaming on Streaming Media's YouTube channel. Maybe not every answer is out there, but many of them are. It goes a long way when asking for help to show that you've made an effort to learn it on your own, but you've hit a roadblock. Many of those in forums and groups seek the same questions and issues on a weekly, even daily basis. How do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? So I always say, make the effort to develop your own problem-solving skills, and it will serve you well, both in solving the problem and in showing the help communities that you made an effort. Often, you'll get an answer faster by looking for it as opposed to asking others to solve it for you and then waiting for an answer. The internet is a fantastic resource, and it's also essential to our streaming business. To keep an internet connectivity glitch from taking you down, consider a bonded internet connection. At the low end, software like Speedify can give your computer 2 or more concurrent internet connections to help maintain reliability in tough situations. How does streaming work when you're connecting over cellular? Kind of the same way, except your latency is more, and you got to have a good solid cellular connection. There are also hardware solutions that include bonding services. One of them is Peplink with their Speed Fusion technologies. But beware those devices that seem to offer multiple wide area network connections to the internet, because many of them are just doing load balancing, as in putting different tasks on different connections, not spreading the one stream across all the connections at the same time. Very different solutions, very different results. Bonding requires a server and a service at the other end to put your video stream packets that came across multiple networks back into the order that they were sent before passing them on to the destination server. If there's no bonding service specifically listed on the receiving end or being charged for, there may not be true bonding at all. Several companies focus on bonded video uplink, just the video uplink, not bonding internet. LiveView and Teradek both offer a range of dedicated hardware that ties into their cloud services to offer bonding and multicasting capabilities. LiveView offers a range of uplink and even bonded downlink hardware and services. Another solution to streaming to multiple places is using a cloud service to allow you to send a single upload at a higher bit rate to multiple destinations. This is called multicasting. One of them is called Caster, C-A-S-T-R. Another one is, as we mentioned before, Restream. They are purpose-built to do this. Some content delivery networks, like Vimeo, also offer multicasting as part of a much larger suite of services that they offer. Resi tweaks the recipe by using a special protocol or hardware for stream resiliency and buffering, with the caveat of an additional delay of about 2 minutes from sending it to the recipient's screen. Once you start doing this more regularly, you get into streamlining your production to make it easier and more fluid. This usually involves a control surface. For tools like the TriCaster, they have big control surfaces available, and they are designed for certain inputs and to work a certain way. There are lots of other control surfaces out there that can enable you to pick what every button does and make it work the way you want it to work. Even change things up between shows. Some of these tools are, I don't know if you say PI engineering or Pi engineering's X keys. I just say X keys. Scarhoy's broad line of computer control surfaces type devices that cover simple switching, audio, pan-tilt zoom cameras, and a whole lot more. They're literally computers in a control surface. There's Elgato's very simple but elegant Stream Deck surfaces in 3 sizes, where each key is a fully customizable LCD screen. I have one myself. It's one of a couple I have. There's also MIDI controllers, like from Akai. This is one of many different MIDI controllers they have that you can map to control what you want to control, how you want to control it. Behringer also makes a whole series of MIDI controllers. There's also Innovation's very capable launch pads. You can even use USB game controllers. This sounds pretty far-fetched, but you can really pretty much do anything you want these days. Many of these tools come with their own software, like the Scarhoy and Elgato, but there are also third-party software coders making digital glue that can likely take the controller you want to use and make it work with the software you want to use, like taking a TriCaster control surface and making it work with vMix. These apps include Central Control and BitFocus Companion. There's also Touch OSC, which is a touchscreen-based configurator that you can repurpose, say, an old iPad to be whatever buttons and sliders and knobs you need dedicated to that particular purpose. Even Elgato has made Virtual Stream Deck mobile so that you can use an old phone when you need just a few more buttons. vMix has its own internal panel builder to enable you to make a custom virtual mixer that you can use on screen. So there you have it. I know that not every single tip is useful to every single person, but we're all solving different needs at different times. So I'll leave you with a couple more. Remember to keep learning. New things are coming out every day. Even updates to things that are already out suddenly make them useful in new ways. For instance, Rode made an update to the Rodecaster Pro audio mixer. Completely changed the device from just being an audio mixer and recorder to becoming a multi-channel audio interface with the computer and a MIDI control surface for audio. And you can use it to switch video inputs with the buttons. Overnight, this little audio mixer became like a completely different product. There's likely to be a few things you didn't know about. I'm sure there's a few great things out there that you know that I don't. So comment on this video, let me know of other great tools, and I can continue to learn as well. My name is Anthony Barocas. I'm the contributing editor for Streaming Media Producer. You can find me at Stream for Us. How does streaming work for you when you're connecting over cellular? Sometimes it's a challenge. And I have bonded both local and cellular in those times when I needed cellular as a backup for the Ethernet that the facility provided when that was not reliable. I have then switched to cellular, and I have done cellular full on. Like, you know, I went to a church and we were indoors and I had my cellular modem, which is right here actually. I had my cellular modem sitting outside. I use this Netgear M1 because it has an Ethernet jack and I can run the Ethernet from outside. I put this box outside and I run the Ethernet into where I am. And then I can use a USB dongle, which is right up here, and have 2 Ethernet inputs into my laptop and use Speedify to bond across them so that if the local internet inside the building is not working, it'll lean heavily on the Ethernet coming in from my modem outside. Have you used any 5G as yet? No, and I actually don't think 5G is going to make much of a difference. 2 reasons, and this is just an opinion. I have a 4G Netgear. They also have a 5G version of this. This 4G touts 1 gigabit of data as a 4 MIMO, multiple in, multiple out. It's basically got 4 radio modems in it. It can connect to 4 different bands on different towers and download data and upload data that way. However, AT&T limits it to 1 channel. That's usually because there's not enough bandwidth going to the tower to serve everyone. That's why when you go to a big event, there's always these, what they call pigs, set up to provide more cellular bandwidth and capability in an area, because otherwise the tower would be overloaded. 5G doesn't necessarily, like if we're only pushing 5 up or 10 up, suddenly having 50 up doesn't necessarily help me any. So I don't see 5G being a huge advantage to mobile streaming. If they could get 4G to deliver on the promises, then that would be awesome, because then this little box that I already own from 2 years ago could start to deliver on the 4G promise, 4G LTE promise that is made. And if you look at their website, it actually does say 1 gigabit down to this day. And I've never seen that. I'm lucky if I get 100 megabits. It'll probably, the text in the slide deck will probably accompany the video when it's linked to the article on Streaming Media Producer. So if you aren't already signed up to get email notifications, sign up to Streaming Media Producer email notifications for when new content is uploaded. Editors, Steve, and everybody, they do a fantastic job of keeping that stuff populated and coming. I found someone that talks faster than me, and I love it. Only because I didn't think I was going to finish 171 slides in 50 minutes. So thank you, Mia.